Hello, I'm Renee Baribeau, and welcome to the Shaman's Cave.
Hi, I'm Sandra Ingerman. Welcome to the Shamans Cave.
And today we thought we would have a little conversation, or it's actually a huge conversation, a multi-century conversation of moving from I call it moving from one epoch to the next. I'm not sure exactly how Sandra describes it, but I figure that last one was quite a few thousand years, and getting to the next one's going to take us a few hundred years. So we're kind of in this period of uncertainty. Although in our last call, Sandra, you said something that was really curious to me when you were talking about people in the 60s, when we were building bomb shelters and we were preparing for like nuclear fallout. And it made me think about something, because I've been thinking of it more as in the last, 20 or 30 years we've been in, I guess, 20 or 30 years we've been in this change. But I wonder if this whole century has been a move towards this next evolutionary jump that humankind is taking.
Yeah, it probably has. I'm more of an intuitive, so I just tune into things. But I wonder if the change happened with the Industrial Revolution, because life really changed. We lost that connection to nature. We lost that connection to cycles. And so for me, I think I shared this on a show. I can be really cynical.
No, not you.
Not me, but I definitely have that in me where, I could be writing about the light and just be talking about the dark to everybody I know. And so, everybody kept on talking about this change and cycle coming, the Star of Bethlehem, and
Oh, I forgot about
love,
that.
and the beginning of Aquarius, and I was going, but what would create that? What would create that? Because human consciousness hasn't changed enough to move into the age of Aquarius. And so, but when that change happened, when that conjunction happened, I did notice a difference energetically in myself, in my students, on Facebook, on the planet, in my conversations with people. And again, I'm like you, Renee, I'm so sensitive energetically that I was actually feeling this whole flooding of new energies coming through me and coming through the planet. But my concern became behavior, because what I have in my own life, and I share this with many, is that when we don't behave, we oftentimes have to be sent to our room or taken down to think about what we've done and what we have to fix. And really, in human consciousness, I'm only going to bring up human consciousness here because we're all part of one web of life, sharing it with all these amazing creatures. But, in human consciousness, we get lazy. We don't get motivated, especially if we're not being pushed as hard as an extreme climactic change, a catastrophe, something like the COVID pushing us. All of a sudden, people had to wake up. So I think where I relate to what you're saying, Renee, is it could be another 100, 200 years before, and I think some astrologers say farther out. So I have smaller time frames because everything seems too big for me. So I just look at everything as the changing of the seasons of instead of linear, how we cycle, how we start to cycle into a new season. A season doesn't end; it's not abrupt. There's a cycle. And it's really important. It's so important during that cycle's change. Again, if we look at our ancestors and what did they show us of how do we get through this in one piece? And it really, it goes back again and again to really having to focus on more than ourselves, and we have to focus on our connection with the web of life, and we have to focus on our connection with spiritual practices. That's really important to do during this time. And the ancient ones have been telling us that this is how we get through. And so the spiritual practices that the ancestors talked about for changing cycles is all about purification and cleansing so that you're ready to start to move into that new growth after the death process has occurred.
Well, it's kind of interesting because when you were speaking, I was thinking about my awakening compass model, where, as you know, we were in this other period, and then so if we moved into more towards on the east of this age of Aquarius thing, no matter whenever you go through it, now this is my medicine, this is my awakening compass, so you might have learned it differently elsewhere. But whenever after you go through that new cycle of beginning in the east with the east wind, you always will hit to the south wind, which is always about your needs and desires and your emotions. And Sandra and I were talking before we got on about, some of the Mars energy, this abrupt, dissension energy. And so whenever you think you're getting ready to start something new, the universe will, the winds will come back at you and say, well, are you really ready? Let's see how much you've grown since the last time you came around this cycle. And it's like, okay, this is me, like white knuckling it. I'm not going to yell at that person. I'm not going to scream. I'm going to do it differently this time, please. And so really seeing how much you've healed, or, when the old patterns come up, can I hold myself and will I respond in a new way? And I think that that's what the universe is asking from us right now.
Yeah, will we respond in a new way? And that in the tarot, that's the moon card. The moon card is at least how I learned it. I know there are tarot readers here that are going to start putting on the Shaman's Cave wall. Sandra doesn't know what she's talking about. In the system I studied in the tarot, the moon card is the card of making choices. And so it's asking you, when you come up to the same challenge that you had once before, are you gonna make the same choice that didn't work the last time, or are you gonna make a new choice that makes it work this time? So we're always being tested on our choices. So you had this plan, and the plan didn't work out. And so all of a sudden, a few years later, somebody comes in and presents you with something, and you go, that sounds really familiar. I think that I was entertaining that possibility once before. And all of a sudden you go, wait a second, how I approached it last time didn't work. So if I do it this time, I have to find an entire new approach. So life is always bringing us these changes and cycles, because we have to look at, how do we do it again? How do we do it again? Which is what cycles are about. We're doing it again, but we're not doing it again. There is a shift in energy. We raise our frequency when we do it again. We raise our vibration when we do it again. And we have different choices and different opportunities when we do it again.
And hopefully we step through that doorway of those new opportunities. And, one of the things that I realized is, okay, I was holding it here. And it's all about control. I was holding it here. I was holding it there. I was holding it there. Oh, but that poor guy in India who was doing the web repairs, I mean, it was like, and I'm thinking like to myself, like, that's not acceptable, Renee. And so then last night I sat down and I made this big, long gratitude list because I keep thinking about, like, I need to think about the person who picked the strawberries, the person who grew the strawberries. And I could just get into like, what about that one moldy strawberry in the pint? And forgetting about all of the hands and all of the people. And so one of the biggest things for me right now is to remember my gratitude.
Mm.
And I think for me, that's been a way through this. I mean, because we're transforming. This is the first time that most of us in the world have not gone on a vacation in a year. A whole year. I mean, think about your normal, I go to here, I go to there, I must be on an airplane every other month. And I have been like landlocked into my own consciousness for a year. And I could test the limits of it. And I have tested the limits of it. And thank goodness I have tools. I have people like Sandra that we can, have a conversation with and a community to help us get through. Sandra and I go back to this all the time. Where's your community?
Yeah, we've done many different shows on this of that one of the changes that some of us are seeing in this new cycle that's coming in is the time of the lone shaman is coming to an end. The shaman, like myself and maybe Renee, I don't know exactly how she sees herself fitting into this, but I like my space. I love to be in groups, but I love my space to do my spiritual work. I don't like to journey with other people. I like to do my work alone. But it's real clear the spirits have been saying to me for a really long time now. And if I watch my writing, what I've been writing about on my monthly column, I've been saying it's the time for creating small communities. And I believe because we talked about this on another show, we've done in my workshop so many journeys into the future. And everybody lives in community and they heal in community. If we go far into the future and they get very confused. What do you mean by illness? We're not sure what illness is. So, that's a good thing to look forward to. But they go, well, if somebody got ill, or we'll all come together and we'll do it together. We'll fix it. And so we're moving in that direction. And with the World Wide Web, everybody's so spread out. And there's a beauty to it. We're learning about each other's cultures on Facebook. People are writing from different countries and saying, this is what's happening in my culture. But you have to be able to also see the power of coming together with people like you in your community, working together, doing your ceremonies together, adding your energy together, keeping you all in good mental health together. It's really important. It's really important work.
Yeah, no, definitely. One of the things I'm doing the 10-month Wind Mastery program this year, and that's one of the things that I've been really hammering down on. I don't know if hammering is the right word, but asking people to really reveal themselves, like to call each other by their first names, to get to know all of these other people. We did some prayer flags a couple of weeks ago, and we all were on Zoom together crafting, with your Zooms open so people could talk, and we were making prayer flags, and it really felt like an experience of being connected to other people. And I thought, oh yeah, this is what we need more of now. This is definitely what we need more of, and not like I've been saying for 10 years at least, the guru is dead. There is no more guru. You guys, they passed on the information and now we all have it. And, so how do you hold yourself in relationship to other people in your experience is really the most profound thing. And it doesn't have to be just your shamanic community. Like one of the things that I'm living in a neighborhood and my neighbor said, well, when are you moving around the corner? Because we've been taking turns cooking each other dinner. I got an email from somebody last week that said, hey, we haven't seen you walk by in a few days. Are you okay? I mean, it's like, don't ask me why I moved to Washington. I moved to Washington because now I'm like walking what I'm talking. It feels really good to be able to go out and have the neighbors concerned that I didn't walk by for a few days.
Yeah, that's great. In Welcome Home, my second book, I wrote about block parties. I grew up in New York, and that was just such a great way of creating community and learning about your neighbors and what their needs were and how to help. And I grew up in a neighborhood where we had to help each other. Right now, of course, we have the COVID. But what you're doing, I have other friends doing too, and it's so healing being on Zoom and knitting together, or watching TV together, or just having that community connection. And so you can even do a little potluck where everybody brings a dish and you end up eating your own, which is fine, but you can make believe you're passing it around. But be creative. We all have these creative streaks of how do we start to bring community into an online experience until, the time is not going to go back to where it was, as Renee keeps sharing, that we've changed. We're not going back. But whether or not in our lifetime we're not going to be able to hold hands again, that I don't see personally at all. And so in the meantime, until we can sit in circles again, I'm starting to plan physical workshops. I'm missing them, and so I'm planting that seed. I am now checking out retreat centers right now to start a practitioner and new teacher training. And I believe that it's going to happen. But right now, creating those small communities on Zoom is important.
Yeah, I just, you'll be hearing this after I got back from the desert, but I created an event, a scavenger hunt, so that people could be in their own cars and they're going to be looking for the leprechaun. And they're going from 3 places where I need them to see one of our transitional living house, our outpatient, and our treatment center. And then we're going to gather under the palm in the palm grove. And a lot of the treatment professionals have had their 2 shots and stuff. But we're going to still, I'm doing boxed corned beef and cabbage dinners. I mean, and the whole thing is people need each other.
Right.
We really need each other. We need, my friend Lauren calls it the effervescence that happens when a group gets together. We need that. So we have to find that way forward. And I think that starting in baby steps, starting in small steps is the way forward.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Absolutely. And we are moving forward. And I think that the communities that we have formed, whether they're the larger community like the Shamans Cave or the smaller personal communities that you're all forming with your friends, these start to build a particular strength that that builds into what we've talked about as an invisible world of substance that must be built before the manifestation happens. And so right now, we're building the invisible substance of coming together in healthy communities to laugh together, to find ways to make believe we're holding hands together and to feel the warmth. My students, when I tell them to feel the warmth of the person next to them on Zoom, they feel it. And so we're doing it. We're creating we're practicing healthy communities that then will be able to go out and put into action. And this will be one of the ways I believe that life will change in the present and the future.
Well, how about if we end, Sandra, with you telling people about getting there? Let's have everyone hold hands, and I'll blow the wind to connect us all.
That sounds great.
Does that sound fun?
It sounds wonderful. So everybody, close your eyes. And I'd like you to put your hands on the bottom of your belly. That's where your vagus nerve is. And so we're going to do some breathing just to de-stress. And so what you want to do is you want to, with your in-breath, you want to feel your stomach push out. And with the out-breath, you want to feel it come back in. And so the man who I learned this from uses the image of a beautiful invertebrate opening and closing in the ocean. And so that's a way to look at it, is just allow your breath to kind of move in and out. And what that does is it actually stimulates the vagus nerve. I'm going to sorry, Renee, I'm going to get up and show people where to put your hands here, and your stomach goes out and in, out and in, and picture this beautiful jellyfish just in and out. And if you stay in that area, and you're not breathing hard, okay, it's very light breathing, it will stimulate your vagus nerve and we'll all calm down. So let's close our eyes and breathe. And if you didn't understand the way I was sharing, just breathe. Our bodies know how to breathe. We're intelligent beings. And just breathe and think about the gratitude of being in a circle such as this. Thousands of people from around the world all coming together to support positive change, positive community, positive connections, to transform the negative states of consciousness by finding the beauty of life and projecting that out. So we feel so much gratitude for the community that's formed. And in our minds, we project ourselves. So just imagine yourself right now traveling to this amazing room. It's one giant room out in nature. And we're all going to meet there. Just keep your intention there. And we're going to sit together in a room. And I want you to start by just looking into each other's eyes and greeting each other and smiling. And now touch the hands of the person next to you. And if it's okay with them, of course, always ask permission, and feel that incredible warmth and just tune into your feelings as Renee does her magic. That was beautiful.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love when we have spontaneous ideas for like a quick ceremony. See, they don't have to be long planned. You can just come up with things in the moment to keep you centered and going forward and then connected.
Absolutely. Yeah. My spirits, actually, to be honest with people, and a lot of my students know this, they give me the ceremony the minute before I do it. So, in all my courses that people take, I prepare. You have no idea how many hours I prepare. I prepare more than anybody on the planet, but my ceremonies do not come until I pick up my drum and open my mouth.
Or you can write them out.
Well, my spirits don't want me to do that. They want to do it spontaneously. They want to come through and lead the group. So yeah, trust your spirits. Be a vessel. But what Renee is saying is true. If you're first starting out doing ceremonies, my first Zoom workshops were the very first time I ever led ceremonies. I did write them out. I didn't know how to read them, but I at least wrote them out so I knew what I was doing. So if you share any of the ceremonies that we do, and we hope that you will, you can write them out, you can listen to the show again, you can journey and just tap into your heart. Shamans do all their work from their heart.
And like anything you cook in the kitchen, it will change. Like I write them out, but it's never what comes, like what you said, never is what comes out of my mouth. And by the time I get there, it's like, oh, well, that was yesterday's news, and it changes. But stay with us. This is a Shaman's Cave. There's lots of ways to follow us on Facebook, and let us know what ceremonies you like and things, because we do take your suggestions. A lot of our shows come from our listeners. And so over at shamanstv.com, there's a form you can fill out. And also you can sign up to be on our weekly newsletter, which then you get the most recent show right into your inbox.
Yeah, and some of you are writing in, asking us to talk about topics that we already did talk about. And so I do send you back to the archives. But topics that are really big, I write down again, because I figure we're now in the third year of our show, and so the first years of our shows none of us remember. So I am writing down those really big important topics. So we are covering your interests. So please keep joining us, and please keep letting people know about our show.
Right. We grow together. So thank you very much and have an awesome week. We'll see you next week.
Blessings.